All right, hello my beautiful students. All right, we are looking at part 2 of 5-4, the slope-intercept form. So take a moment, copy this stuff on down, and we'll be right back to explain it. All right, now that you have it copied down, write down the equation y equals mx plus b, remembering that the m stands for our slope, which is rise over run, and the b is our y-intercept, the dot or the point on the y-axis. And I don't know if you've noticed, but in all your homework on this slope-intercept form, everything has already been in this y equals mx plus b. And I'll show you. Here is our homework. And if you take a look, I'm not going to zoom in. I'll just bring the paper up. Y equals, see how the y is by itself? There's a number in front of x followed by a plain number. Great. Move down here, the last one. Right, even down here, y is by itself. There's a number in front of the x followed by a plain number at the end. These are already in the form of y equals mx plus b. So we're going to have our first example all, be a review and be in that form also. So go ahead and write this one down and line up, do yourself a favor, line up the y's, line up the equal sign, and I'm going to put a negative 3x, and I'm going to put a positive 5. So go ahead and write that down, and I'm going to add a graph in just a second. So before we move on, make sure you do have this written down. Go ahead and copy down this graph. I made it using 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way, and I made a line in the middle so that my blue line was 1. So make sure you make a graph like that, and then go ahead and put your slope number and your y-intercept. So do that real quick. Go ahead and hit pause. I'll give you a second. All right, so because this is already in this form, okay, the y is by itself, yes. Is there followed by an equal sign? Yes. There's no negative on it, right? There's an x term, right? Which basically means, is there a number in front of the x? Yeah, it's a negative 3. And then is it followed by a plain number? Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it can be negative, or it looks like minus. So when it's in this form, you can quickly identify the slope because it lines up, right? There's my slope. Write it as a fraction because it's the rise or sometimes going down. So it's negative 3 over 1. Okay, so always make it look like a fraction even if it's not. And then what is my y-intercept? It's right there. So they perfectly line up. Now I'm going to quickly graph this. Let me zoom in once for you. There we go. And so I go to 5 on the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. This is my y-intercept, right? So that's my letter B. It is right there. And then I'm going to use my slope. Now that says negative 3, so that means I'm going to go down. So 1. So I count, skip count. 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1, right? So if you have a printed, coordinate plane, this will line up even better. But I got a pretty straight line going there, and it matches. This line is going down. Remember, we always look at it from this point of view, from the side of the red, is it's going down, and that shows true because my slope is negative. So negative slope means it's going down, and it's starting at the number 5, right? So make sure to hit pause, get this copied down. But this is just a review of part 1. All right, example 2. Go ahead and hit pause for just a moment and copy that down. All right, so look at this equation. This does not look like y equals mx plus b. But people will still do this. Oh, there's a 5 in front of the x. And, oh, here the plain number is 10. There's my slope. No. If it is not in this form, this 5 is not the slope. This 10 is not the y-intercept. So make sure, I'm going to double know this, you do not do that, okay? So I will show you how to change this to match that form. So make sure you have that little bit copied down. All right, so I'm going to need you to write all this stuff down. So I rewrote the 5x plus 2y equals 10. And then write down these steps. I'll read through them real quick. Write y equals mx plus b above the problem. and this little sign, line up the equal sign. I'll show you what that means. Step 2, move the x term. Number 3 says isolate the y. And then number 4 says identify slope and the y-intercept. So hit pause right now and go ahead and write down all those steps and rewrite the equation. All right, now that you have this all written down, let's go through this. So step 1, write the y equals mx plus b above the problem. And it says line up the equal sign. So what's what I mean? Put the equal sign right here. Put the y where it should be. Put the mx plus b. So this is step 1. That means I should see this on all of your problems. Line it up. Now, step 2. Now, the reason you're going to line it up is because you can tell that these do not match. Is my x supposed to be over here? No. Is the y supposed to have something in front of it? No. So, line those up, and here's my first thing. Move the x term. So, I'm going to draw a little line. Now, remember, I'm moving. I'm not separating the 5 from the x. So, I'm going to actually go minus 5x and go minus 5x. Now, over here, they cancel, and you drop down the 2y, and then stop for a second. Do not go 10, take away 5x. Okay? Do not do that. These are not like terms. That's a plain number. He has an x. All you do is write it just like this, but in this form. So that says negative 5x, so put negative 5x. That is a positive 10. So put a plus to mean positive 10. I did not combine these. Right? So do not combine it. Just rewrite it like this. Nice and simple. Okay? So, we have that written out. Step 3 says isolate the y. Well, that means get the y by itself. Well, what's in front of this one? A 2. So guess what I'm going to do? Divide everything by 2. Divide. When I say everything, I mean everything. Look at that. 3 number 2's. Why? This one cancels out. The y is now isolated, and it matches my formula. Now, can 5 be divided by 2? No, but that's all right. Leave it like that. Negative 5. Write it over 2 and put the x next to it. Why? Because now it looks like my mx. Now, 10 can be divided by 2, so put plus and that equals 5. Now, does this look like this? It does. Y equals, there's my m, something in front of x, followed by b. Now, the last part is identify your slope. So your slope is now, it lines up, right? Here's my m all the way down, negative 5 over 2. And my b is at the end. See? B, up, 5. Look how different this is compared to this. You see how that's not a 5? It's a negative 5 divided by 2, and that's not even a 10. That ends up being a 5. That's why you have to change this equation into this format. So make sure you hit pause and get this all written down. All right, so here is our example 3. So I want you to hit pause right now and get this all copied down. So copy down the equation, copy down these 5 steps, copy down that coordinate plane. So do that right now. All right, so now that you have this copied on down, so we're going to actually just start following these steps. So step 1, write y equals mx plus b above the equation. Remember to line up the equal sign. So here's y equals mx plus b. And we do that because we can now tell that these two do not match. All right, move on to step 2. Step 2 is move the x term. Well, I have a negative x. So I'm just going to go positive x. Positive x. Drop down the 3y. Drop down my equal sign. And remember, this is an x. That's a 3. Do not combine them. So it just becomes an x. That's a positive 3. Go plus 3. Now I'm going to isolate the y, which is a fancy way of saying divide by 3, because we're going to get rid of it. So here we go. I'm going to divide by 3. And the key thing is you put that under each one, right? Divide by 3, divide the x by 3, divide the 3 by 3. So what do we get? Y equals, now that's an x. Well, what do I do with that? This is what you do. Put a 1 in front of it. See? Put a 1 there, and then just write 1 over 3. So 1 over 3, put the x next to it. So, see how easy that was? So if you just have a plain x, just pretend there's a 1 in front of it and put 1/3 x. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So there is my equation. Does it match the form? Let's see. Is y by itself? Yes. Is there an equal sign? Yes. Is there a number or a fraction in front of x? Yes, there is. And is it followed by a plain number, my b? Yes, it is. So step 4, identify the slope in the y-intercept. So what is my slope? My slope is 1/3. What is my y-intercept? My b, it's +1. So there we go. So if you need to, hit pause right now and copy this down, but we still have to do step 5. So I'll slow down for just a moment. Okay, so again, the reason we identify this is B is step 1. So we're going to go to step 1 and we're going to put a dot. That's my y-intercept. And then I'm going to use my slope. Now my slope says 1 over 3. So that's going to be up 1 over 3. So 1, 2, 3. Go up 1. Again, count over 3. 1, 2, 3. Kind of takes me off my graph. I stopped at 5. I had to make a 6. But if you run out of room, you can do this. Go back to the y-intercept and do the exact opposite. If you went up 1, you could go down 1. If you went over 3, you could go backwards 3. So I'm going to go down 1, backwards 3. 1, 2, 3. And go down 1 again. Count over 3. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere right about here. And my dots kind of pretty much form a line. Connect them. And it matches, right? Remember, you're looking from this point of view. So I look at this way. My line is going up. And that's because I have a positive slope. And it passes through my y-axis at 1, and that's what my y-intercept is. So make sure that you hit pause, copy this all down. Actually, maybe before you do pause, what we really want to do is also put down your practice problem. So here's your practice problem. Number 1, you're going to have to solve and graph this. So it's 12x plus 6y equals a negative 12. So you're going to solve and graph. All right, so there is your practice problem. Let me move this back up. Go ahead and hit pause, copy that. And all right, we're back again. Here's your practice problem. I want to see it transformed into y equals mx plus b. And then go ahead and graph this. So have a math-tastic day.